Hello and welcome to my channel Learn Through Cyclinic, and with you I am Dr. Nelson. We are going to have a lecture on research methodology, part 1 and introduction. The objectives of the first part are definition and the goal of research, methods of knowing, scientific method, the responsible researcher, the consolidation of the research findings. So before moving on to know what a research method is, first of all we are defining what research is. Research is defined as the creation of new knowledge and or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way so as to generate new concepts, methodologies and understanding. So what we can say in a nutshell is that research is the creation of new knowledge. And also we should know what research methodology is. Research methodology is the specific procedures or techniques used to identify, select, process and analyze information about a topic. That means in research methodology, in research what we are doing is we are creating knowledge. So the specific procedures and techniques used to generate new knowledge, to create new knowledge, that is what we call research methodology, and that we are dealing here an introductory class. And there may be a question, why do we do research? Because we all are doing research. As a students of psychology, it's a paper for you for your evaluation. You will have to prepare a project or a dissertation, something like that. So we should know why we are doing research. So the answer is just clear, because we do research to create knowledge. So why do we create knowledge? That's the question. Why should we create new knowledge? We create new knowledge to make our life more easy and more comfortable, because we want to control. We don't need to get controlled by others. We don't need to get controlled by the nature. We don't need to be controlled by others. We need to control, because the control should be in our hands. For that purpose we need knowledge. Nobody likes to be controlled by others. Nobody likes to control by any other force. So to assert our independence, we need knowledge, and for that knowledge, to create such knowledge, we are doing research. Even in the times of pandemic, the coronavirus, what we are doing is we want to know more about that virus so that we can have a better control over the virus, so that we need not be afraid of that virus. So what we are doing is we are creating new knowledge so that it makes our life more comfortable, to have more control over the nature, to have more control over our own behavior, to have control over the behavior of others, to predict that. So for those purposes we are creating new knowledge. So the importance of a researcher is not a simple thing. What a researcher is doing is that he is creating new knowledge to make our life more comfortable. And we should know what is knowledge. Knowledge is a familiarity, awareness or understanding of someone or something, such as facts, skills or objects. And that knowledge becomes facts, the facts that are believed to be true. And a very important question is that in this field is, how do we acquire knowledge? Because we are acquiring knowledge, we are creating knowledge. We create knowledge, new knowledge, but we should also know how we acquire knowledge. So there's a question. The question is this: do we acquire all knowledge through research? As I had told you earlier, research is nothing but creating knowledge. So whether all the knowledge is created through research or all the knowledge that we have acquired had come through research, and that's the question that we need to answer, and our answer may be yes or no, because we create knowledge through research, we acquire knowledge through research. The question is whether is that the only way to acquire or to create knowledge. And our answer for acquiring knowledge is not only through the research. There are different ways to acquire knowledge. One such thing is through authority. We acquire knowledge through authority, then through intuition, through rationalism, through empiricism, and of course through scientific methods. So these are the 5 methods that we are dealing here with for the ways of acquiring knowledge: authority, intuition, rationalism, empiricism, and scientific methods. And we will see the characteristics of each method of acquiring knowledge. First, we will take the method of knowledge, that is the authority. Authority, we acquire knowledge from authority, from the authorities like from the authority or from the authority figures like teachers, parents, government, etc. We acquire knowledge through them. We don't question them. We believe as it is. For example, your parents would have told you don't take too many chocolates. If you are eating too many chocolates, you may get stomachache. As a child, you just believe that. You acquire that knowledge from your parents. You think it is true. That knowledge you acquired is true for yourself. So you think that it is not good to take chocolates, and you stop taking too many chocolates. You haven't gone through a research and find out whether eating chocolates may or may not lead to a stomachache. We haven't done any research. Just what the authority had told you, you believed it. Likewise, your teachers may be telling something like that from the school, that the earth is round and all that. Even before knowing more about that, we just believe their words. So that is one way of acquiring knowledge, that is, it is through authority. Then the other one is through intuition. Intuition means here it is a truth for oneself, what one feels, and it is mostly guided by emotions and gut. For example, if you take the previous example, that you have come to know that taking too many chocolates may lead to stomachache. Maybe you had a chocolate at one time, and you didn't feel that very easy after taking that chocolate. You felt something bad about that, and you would have such type of experience once or twice. The reason may be not because of the chocolates, maybe because of something else, but we had a feeling that no chocolates, because whenever we have taken that chocolate, we would had some bad experience. So we may connect that with that bad experience, and we say that, oh, the chocolates are not good, I don't like it. It's a personal experience. It's a truth for oneself. It is just a feeling for that particular person, for that person concerned, and that becomes a knowledge for that person. So that's another way of acquiring knowledge, through intuition. It is the truth for oneself. It is just subjective, what one feels, mostly guided by emotions and guts. And then we will see the third one, that is a rationalism. In rationalism, we use logic and reasoning. And see, there is a scientific method. In scientific method also, we use when we want to reach into some conclusions, we use logic, reasoning, and the things like that. But here there's a difference. Rationalism uses logic and reasoning, but that is based on some premises which may or may not be true. That's the problem here. We had some premises, we have acquired some premises. It may be through an authority or from some other intuition or some other ways we had a premise. For example, you think that all swans are white. You had a premise that all swans are white. That may or may not be true, but somehow you have learned that, somehow you have acquired the knowledge that all swans are white. So someone tells you that there's a swan on in front of your house, then you will see, oh, it may be white. Then you will just imagine a white swan walking in front of your house, because you had a knowledge, that you had a premise that swans are white. So even before seeing that swan, you will decide that it is a white swan, because that's the premise. So if all swans are white, so the swan that is sitting in front of your house should also be a white one. So they are based on some premises. We had used the logic that this all the swans are white, so the swan that is sitting in front of my house is also white. Used logic and reasoning, but that was based on some premise. But actually there are black swans too in some countries. So through rationalism also we acquire knowledge. Then we see the other method of acquiring knowledge, that is empiricism. In empiricism, we acquire knowledge through one's own observation and experience and the sensory experience. We observe the things and then we come to some conclusion, that is a sensory experience, and then we'll see that yes, that's true for ourselves. Actually, there is no systematic observation. For example, we may say that women are more talkative than men. That's an observation. It's your observation, because we have seen many of the women, we have seen many of the men, and then you have seen that many women are talking too much. They are very talkative, and you found that men are less talkative than compared to the women, and then you are coming to a conclusion that women are more talkative. It is through your own observation. So there's an observation, and through your own experience you came to that conclusion, and that's a knowledge to you, and that's the way you acquire knowledge. And then we look into the other method, that is a scientific method. So in scientific method, we systematically collect and evaluate evidence to test ideas and answer questions. So we are collecting the evidence, we are observing the things. For collection of the data or the evidence, we observe the things, but everything is done in a very systematic way. Whatever you are measuring, whatever you are observing will be recorded properly, and there is a systematic way. So systematically collecting and evaluating, and at the time of evaluation also, that will be based on your data, your evidence, and we will systematically evaluate it. So at the time of rationalism, we are using rationalism and empiricism in the scientific method, but the difference is that in scientific method we are more systematic. That's the method in scientific method. So we all know that psychology is considered as a science just because we use the scientific method to acquire knowledge, to create knowledge. So in psychology we use scientific methods for creating knowledge, and so psychology is considered as a science. And then we see, how do we create knowledge in science, creation of knowledge in science? Because we have seen different types of acquiring knowledge. When we compare that, and then we'll see the creation of knowledge in science. How do we create knowledge in science? That is through systematic empiricism, that is systematic observation and analysis. That's the method of creating knowledge in science, systematic empiricism. It is not simply empiricism, but it is systematic. That means systematic observation and systematic analysis. That's the way of science. In scientific methods, we acquire knowledge through empirical questions. For example, do criminal behavior have connection with genetics? You had an observation, you had observed around you, and you found that some of the criminals had a criminal pattern behavior patterns that runs through their families. So you are having a doubt, you get a doubt that criminal behavior had a connection with genetics. Your observation in empiricism is based on your observation. So you had an hypothesis that criminal behavior had a connection with genetics. There may be a chance for having a connection between the criminal behavior and genetics. So through empirical questions, we acquire knowledge in the scientific method. So that is what we call as the scientific method. And what science does is it explains and predicts. That's a special thing. Science describes, explains, and predicts. That is the special feature of science. So our next question is, what do we do with the knowledge created? Because we are doing research, too many people are doing research, and what we are doing with all the knowledge that we have created. Everybody, because little bits of knowledge will be created through research, and what we are doing with that knowledge is very important. Researchers create public knowledge through publication of research papers, which is consolidated in books and articles. This helps to improve our life and find solutions for our problems, and it becomes established facts. So you may be also doing research, and you would have found you have created little bits of knowledge. So what happens to that little bits of knowledge? People all over the world are doing some types of research, and if that little bits of knowledge, if it remains there itself without getting connected with the broad knowledge, with the broad field of knowledge, it becomes useless, it becomes futile unless that comes to the light, unless it becomes a part of the established facts. So what the researchers are doing, they are doing public knowledge, creating public knowledge, and this public knowledge will be getting published in research papers, and sometimes it may be consolidated into books, and it may find some practical applications. The general population may come to know about your research findings. They will discuss about that, they will read the books, and they will read the research articles that contains your research findings, and that becomes an established facts, and that may help us to improve our life. So we need to take care that what we are doing as a researcher is a very important matter. So we are not doing a research not just for the sake of doing research, because your research findings may get a reference, you will be getting reference somewhere, even in a book that someone is going to write. So what we are doing should be authentic. So authenticity should be maintained when you are doing research. Only then we can create the true knowledge. Otherwise the knowledge may become fake, and it will not help anyone. So before you do the research, before you start to do the research, you should think how to make it more authentic. So let us recollect the things that we have gone through this part 1. It's a very short introduction, and in this short introduction we have learned only a very few things. We have learned how we are acquiring knowledge, the different ways of acquiring knowledge. First of all, we had made a definition of research and the research methodology, and also we have also defined what knowledge is, the use of knowledge, and also why we are creating knowledge, new knowledge, what's the use. Then about the different ways of acquiring knowledge, and out of the ways of acquiring knowledge, we have seen that scientific method is far more superior than other ways of acquiring knowledge. And scientific method we use systematic empiricism, and through empirical questions, people may come to decide some types of research questions. So through systematic observation and evaluation, we come to conclusions in science. So psychology is considered as a science because we use the scientific method, because that is considered to be the superior methods than the other methods of knowing. So that's a thing that we have learned, and also we have discussed the importance of the research findings that you had found out. Your research findings will become an established facts, and it becomes a public knowledge. So we need to be very careful when you are doing research, because it may become a part of the public knowledge. So we need to be very authentic while doing research. So I hope you would have benefited through this lecture. Subscribe the channel to watch the full series, and you can have more resources from cyclinic.co.in. So you are also welcome to visit the channels. Visit my website cyclinic.co.in. Thank you.